So you will be writing some of the details concerning the historical context of Job. Fourth point we are dealing. The final form of the book of Job is coming from Persian period. Persian period. Yesterday we have given Persian period date wrong. Now we can write down Persian period starting from 539 to 333. 539 to 333 BC. Now book of Job speaks about the context, the historical context or social context of the Persian period. Now we have to know what was the Persian context in which book of book of Job is written. There was a socio-political crisis in Israel during the time of Persian period. In the land of Israel, there was socio-political crisis. There was a hypostasis presented by Rainer Alberts, a German philosopher. Rainer Alberts, German scholar. He says, during the Persian period, Jews suffered socio-economic crisis. Jews suffered from socio-economic crisis. Now, what is the socio-economic crisis of the Jews during the time of Persian period? Persians started imposing the taxes. I told you yesterday, number of kingdoms, one of the other has controlled Palestine, and so they were extracting taxes from the neighboring countries. Okay, that was the system. Now Persians have imposed a tax. So there were also taxes previously. They were paying to Assyrians, they were paying to Babylonians. Now they are paying to Persians. Now previously the paying taxes was in kind, which means a farmer from his cultivation he pays whatever he could according to the tax that is determined by the local authorities. But during the Persian period they formulated a new taxation, that is paying in currency, not in kind but in cash. So therefore what happened? All the farmers, different artisans, they have to sell their product and get money, and they were paying the taxes by money. Now imagine there were droughts and farmers cannot pay taxes. But to the state, to the foreign rulers, they have to pay tax. Therefore what they were doing? They were mortgaging, keeping as a pledge their fields, sometimes their houses, sometimes the owner of the house, his wife, sometimes his children. So this was the situation going on. Book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, verse 5 and the following will give a description of this kind of things that were going on. We shall read from book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, shall read from 6. I shall read, or from 5 I will read. Now our flesh is the same as that of our kindred. Our children are the same as their children, and yet we are forcing our sons and daughters to be slaves, and some of our daughters have been ravished, and we are powerless, and our fields and our vineyards belong to others. Nehemiah chapter 5 verse 5 and the following I have read. So this was the condition. Because of the new taxation system, followed by or imposed by Persian rulers on Jews, especially during the time of drought, and after sometimes drought continues for years, therefore they have to pay, even in drought they have to pay taxes to the foreign rulers. Now there will be here and there a few rich people, so from them, from the same people, from same Israelites, they were mortgaging their vineyards, their fields, their crops, their houses. Sometimes, even as I said, the children and wives and children, they have been mortgaged and they were getting money and paying taxes. And because of this, there was acute crisis in the land. Now, during this time exactly, there were two kinds of groups of people, or two kinds of rich in the land. First group of rich are those who take or who lend money without interest. And there are other groups of rich among Israelites. When some poor people come because they want to pay taxes or they want to survive, so they are giving money, but they are giving money on interest. They are lending money, but they are lending on interest. That's the problem. If 2-3 years there is no crop, however after 3rd year, 4th year there is crop, you will not be able to pay the debts. And paying interest, sometimes high interest, therefore you will have to lose your field. Sometimes you have to lose your house. Sometimes you have to lose your children and wife too. So that was the situation. Now Job represents the first group of rich who lends money but without taking interest. Because he is a God-fearing man, the law requires from him paying the debts or lending the money without interest, sometimes even without getting that money. Even if you see book of Deuteronomy from chapters 15 and so on, you will have number of discourses on how you have to. There is 7th year remission of debts and all that. Lot of things are there. Shall we read one or two details concerning the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, please. Shall we read? From one. Every 7th year you shall grant a remission of debts. So whatever debt someone is owing to you, on the 7th year if he is not able to pay, what do you have to do? You have to cancel it. The law says. So as adherents of the law, some rich among the Jews, God-fearing people, first of all they are giving money without interest. Secondly, sometimes they are not able to pay. On the 7th year they are cancelling whole money. And they are going on giving money. Book says, whoever comes to you, do not hold your fist, do not harden your hearts, no, tighten your fists. You have to give generously. Therefore, those God-fearing Jews, whoever comes, they are giving, and therefore they are not getting back. Therefore, they were becoming poor, and they are suffering. So this is the social context from which book of Job is emerging. Now Job raises a question. So this is the situation where I am. I am God-fearing. So therefore, I am becoming rich. Now the other side, you see another group of rich. We said 2 groups of rich people are there. Second group of rich, they give money on loans, but they get loans back. And they give on interest also. If they don't pay, they forcefully take the fields and vineyards and wives and children of the particular man. Therefore, because of this situation, these wicked rich, they are becoming richer. They are experiencing prosperity. Now you see, they are not obeying the law of the Lord. Therefore, they are extracting taxes, interest and the money that is given. Therefore, they are becoming richer. And the God-fearing, the just Israelites who are rich, who are not taking, who are not collecting interest, who are also cancelling their debts, becoming poorer, and they are being oppressed later. Therefore, Job raises a question. Is there, did we write? Again we will write. Divine retribution. If God is there, who is controlling all these things? Where is He? Where is the justice followed? Why the wicked are not punished? Why just are not given a reward? So this is the question our book of Job raises. Is that clear for you? Yeah, I think. Because of online blocking and all that, we are not able to say yes or no. Because Job adheres to his religion, he has become poor. Yet, in his country, rich people who are cunning and exploited, those who exploit, those people prosper. Now, Job's book of Job asks, where is God? Where is God? Where is divine justice? So these are the questions raised by book of Job. So this is the historical context of book of Job. Now we are coming to the fifth point, the structure of the book. Structure of the book. All these details are important. Among them, the structure you should keep in your mind always. Any book you read, any biblical studies you do, each book structure you should have in your mind. It is easy for you to afterwards read and reflect and take a quote from each book and so on. It will be easy. Structure should be imprinted in your mind. Now the structure of the book of Job. First one, prologue. First one, prologue. Prologue begins from chapter 1, verse 1 to chapter 2, verse 13. All of you should open your Bibles and see. Book of Job. Is there anyone without Bible here? Still? All are with Bible. That's good. I really like. Good. Book of Job, you see, we are going to see the structure of the book. How the book is put forward. Yeah. Book of Job, we have prologue. Prologue is always an introductory part. Then there is an epilogue. Every letter will have like this. Every book will have like this. Prologue and epilogue. Prologue is introduction to the book. Epilogue is the conclusion to the book. Yeah, now we have for the book of Job, prologue. Prologue begins from chapter 1, verse 1 to chapter 2, verse 13. The 13th verse, this prologue, introductory part is over. See, Job is introduced, his family is introduced. Then there was an attack on Job, and there's a lot of losing everything. Job loses everything, and even Job is affected by sickness, and his three friends come. This is the setting. First part. The next part is the whole chapter, except beginning and ending, everything is in the poetry form. Remember, first part, that is prologue, and the ending part, that is epilogue, both are in narrative form. Which form it is? Narrative form. So there is a narration of the story. But whereas, starting from chapter 3 up to chapter 41, it is all in the form of poetic form. So by this you understand the two things are being compiled in the book of Job. Now we are coming back to second part of the book. Poetry of dialogue. Second part is poetry of dialogue, starting from chapter 3 verse 1 up to chapter 37. Second part. Then next part is chapters 3 to 27. Chapter 3 to 27. Did I say 37? I am sorry. 27. Poetry of dialogue. This is a poetry of dialogue. Dialogue between Job and his three friends. Okay. Next one. Third section is poem on wisdom. Poem on wisdom. Before that we see poem on wisdom. Third part we shall see. Second part we shall see. Starting from chapter 3, we go on, turn the pages and see. So Eliphaz speaks. Job is corrected by God. Job replies, my complaint is just. Job says, my suffering is without end. The next chapter 8, Bildad, second man comes. He goes on, speaks. Then in chapter 9, Job replies. Please open and see. Then in chapter 10, Job continues his reply. And again, chapter 11, Zophar speaks. Job is guilt and all that. Then further Job replies, I am a laughing stock. Job replies again. Then up to 13th chapter. Again, Then 15th chapter, Eliphaz begins his answer. Okay. Again, Job reaffirms his innocence in chapter 16. And Job prays for relief. Okay. Then coming back to again chapter 18, that is Bildad speaks, second round Bildad speaks, and Job replies to. Then again chapter 20, Zophar speaks for the second round, and Job replies, and Eliphaz speaks for the third time. Eliphaz speaks, and Job replies in 23. Okay. Then chapter 24, Job complains of. Okay, that is a reply of Job to the Eliphaz. Then again, third round, Bildad speaks. How can a man be righteous before God? Then Job replies. And Job continued to reply up to 27. So now, third round, no Zophar. Neither Zophar nor Job. No one talks. They will abandon the speech. They will abandon the talk. We are all talking. This man is not at all accepting. So they abandon the talk. They abandon the discussion. And in between, chapter 28, third section, that is poem on wisdom. Chapter 28, a poem on wisdom. So, the content of the poem is, where is the wisdom is found? Where is the wisdom found? The whole, if you read whole section of it, the whole poem on that, we shall read verse 12. But where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Mortals do not know the way to it, and it is not found in the land of the living. People seek here and there for wisdom, but it is not found. Why? Because it is with God. Wisdom is with God. And those who fear God will have the wisdom. So that's it. The wisdom poem. Then we have next section D. Section D, starting from fourth section. Second soliloquy. Soliloquy means an act of talking to oneself. Sometimes we talk to ourselves, no? So that's called soliloquy. Second soliloquy. Starting from chapters 29 to 31. sorry, 29 to 31. And now see chapters 21. Job again took up his discourse and said, "Oh, that I were as in the mouths of old, or in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone over my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. When I was in my prime, when the friendship of God was upon my tent, when the Almighty was still with me, when my children were around me, when my steps were washed with milk, and the rocks poured out my steps, when I went out to the gate of the city, when I took up my seat in the square, the young men saw me and withdrew, and the aged rose up and stood. The nobles refrained from talking and laid their hands on their mouths. The voices of princes were hushed, and their tongues stuck to the roof of their mouths. When the ear heard, it commanded me. When the eye saw, it approved, because I delivered the poor who cried, and the orphans who had no helper. The blaming of the wretched came upon me. When I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy, I put the righteous, and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. I was ears to the blind, and I was feet to the lame. I was father to the needy, and I championed the cause of the stranger. I broke the fangs of the unrighteous and made them drop their prey from their teeth. So this is a description. Job speaks about himself, what he was been doing before he was been sick, before he has been suffering. The first stage, he was a respected man. When he goes to the assembly, during those days, at the city gates, disputes were settled. So whoever have got disputes, they come together. Even in our villages, under a tree, under a main center, people gather together. Ah yes, that's Manda. Yeah. No, don't divert. So that is the place, and the men of wisdom come together. The people of social standard, respect, good reputation, they come and give the deliverance, give the verdict. So that's what's happening. Job was one of the social ranks. When he comes, all the children stopped speaking. All the princes, young people of the land, even the aged, they stood up. Okay? There was utter calm and silence when he comes to this kind of assemblies to settle the disputes, to settle the matters. And he was a champion of the poor, he said. Very beautiful words, it is written about him. He was father. Widows' hearts sang for joy when Job came, it seems. It is said, I was ear to the earless, I was feet to the lame and all that, blind, I was eye to the blind. So whenever there was this kind of discrimination, injustice and all these things, he was fighting for those people, poor and innocent and all that. So that was a soliloquy. That is starting from chapters 29 to 31. Up to 39, he speaks about himself, what he has been doing, and how just he was in his behavior, how God-fearing he was. Up to 21, he speaks. Now coming to next section, that is he. Fourth friend Elihu, from somewhere, from nowhere, from chapters 34 to fourth friend Elihu. 34 to 37. Is it 34? Yeah. 34 to 37. Fourth friend Elihu comes. And he has discourse with Job. And we shall see Elihu proclaims God's justice. Okay. Then Elihu condemns self-righteousness. Then Elihu exalts God's goodness. So, on defense of, because Job is complaining against God, Elihu comes in rescue of God, speaking God's justice, God's goodness, okay, all these things. So these sections carry up to 37. Now, at the end, all these people talk, they finish. Now there is a dialogue between God and Job. Very important. Chapters starting from chapters 38 to 42:6. 38 to 42:6. 2 plus 2, 4 chapters. God speaks 2 rounds. Previously, there was 3 rounds of talk. Can you see here? Job and his friends, each one talks, it's like 3 rounds, except last one. Zophar, third time he doesn't speak. But otherwise, Eliphaz talks, Job responds. Bildad speaks, Job responds. Zophar talks, Job responds. 1 round is over. Matter is not cleared. Second round again. Eliphaz talks, Job responds double. Bildad talks, Job responds. Zophar talks, Job responds. Matter is still not cleared. The third round, Eliphaz talks, Job talks double. Bildad accuses Job. Job disproves Bildad, saying, I am innocent, in 2 chapters. And therefore, he is not at all accepting. All these fellows stop the matter and go. So that is a round. This is how between friends, Job and his friends dialogue goes on. And there is chapters 38, 1 to 42, okay? 42, 6. There are 2 rounds of talk between God and Job. Now, it is God. He takes his cause. He speaks. He speaks 2 chapters. Ole, say, how many chapters? 2, yeah, 2 chapters. And now, hardly Job speaks some 2 sentences. He speaks only just 2 sentences. So, he has nothing other than to accept God. Again, God comes. He takes a second time. He challenges Job. And finally, Job responds and says, I did not understand. He admits his mistake. So this is what? Final dialogue between God and Job, chapters 38 to verse 42. Finally, as I told you, in the beginning there is prologue, and at the end, epilogue. Epilogue starting from chapters 42, 7 to 17. So this is the last end part. So this is the structure of the book of Job. This is how you have to see. Now, for example, for your reading, for your reflection, for your preparing a talk, you select a text. Now you should see in which part it falls. Then only you can lively speak about the text. Otherwise, you will not understand what is its context, its meaning, and its intensity. You will not understand. Therefore, we should see structure clearly. And for example, if you are speaking about poem on wisdom, there is a reading poem on wisdom reading, that is from chapters 28. You have to speak about the wisdom. It's a lot of things are there in that. Or if you have got a first part that in the land of Uz there is a wonderful man called God-fearing man Job, and he was upright and he was offering sacrifices to God, and finally he is being tested, and devil took everything, and he said, the Lord has given, the Lord has taken back, blessed be the name of God. So these things, when you come, you should speak from the epilogue. You should understand like that. So that's it, brothers, concerning the structure. Now we'll go back to the 6th point, that is question of books unity. This is a great problem with concerning the book of Job. Like we had book of Probes, we had a problem, no? So different sections were put together and collected. Now it's for us difficult to which one is first, which one is last, and like that. but we have found out there. Here also we will find out. Why? Because by reading the text, by analyzing the text, by breaking the text, we know which text belongs to what and all that. Now we are going to do that. We are going to study whether book of Job is one book or is a collection of books, collection of material. That's what we are going to see in the sixth point, that is question concerning the book's unity. I'll read a few details and you can listen to and you can scribble something on your notebook. Is the book is written by one author? Is there unity in the book of Job? Though seeming unity of prose, dialogues twists show that book is not one. First thing, we find in Job two different Jobs. In the book of Job, two different Jobs are there. First one, a peasant Job. Peasant. One is looking after his farms and all that. In chapters 1, 21. He is a patient Job. He is a God-fearing Job. He is an obedient Job. In the first part. In the second part, from chapters 3, we find a Job, a challenging Job, a rebellious Job, a questioning Job. Therefore, that Job is different from this Job, which means it's a book is not one unit. Two different things were put together. It's a clear indication. There is a representation of protagonist of the story is not the same. At one time he is obeying, another time he is challenging, which means they are different. These two materials, chapters, prologue and the main section of the book, poetry, prose and poetry, they are not from same author. Different author, but they have been put together. One indication. Secondly, in the narrative section, that is first part and the last part, Job is presented as exemplary of moral integrity. But in the poem, Job is not that exemplary. And without chapters 34 to 37, book seems complete. The fourth friend Elihu is coming, right? If you remove that book seems complete again, which means chapters 34 to 37 is a later addition to the book of Job. See, chapter 1 and 2, last part, chapter 42, verse 7 to 17. Without this part, and without this part, and without chapter 28, without first part and last part, without chapters 28 and without chapters 24 to 37, the book seems okay. Which means different additions were put together and compiled into a book. So, from our study, we found at least 4 different sections were put together. First of all, introduction, the first part and the last part is different from third chapter to 27th chapter. This is an individual book, it appears like. And without a poem on wisdom, still book of Job appears okay. Even if that is not there, it is okay, it will go on. There is no need for a poem on wisdom, not required. But actually what the story is going on? Story is going on between Job and his suffering and his friends consoling and he refuting. His friends tell, you have sinned, therefore you are experiencing punishment. You are experiencing bad things. Job and different sections, he proves his innocence. So this is the content of the book. To this content, chapter 28 is added. Chapter 34 to 37. Third friend is added, fourth friend is added. First book says he has only 3 friends. From where this fourth friend is coming from? Book, it doesn't make sense. You understand? Yeah, this is an addition, this is an addition, and first part, chapter 1 and 2 and chapter 42, 7 to 17, these are additions. This is clear. You understand? This is the question of unity concerning the book of Job. So different things were put together and made into Job. Is that clear, brothers? Yeah. So in conclusion we can say book of Job is made up of more than one book. Book of Job is compiled from more than one book. So that is clear. Now 7th point. Job guilty or innocent? 7th point. Job guilty or innocent? So here we see concerning the question whether Job is guilty or innocent, whether he has done some mistake or is innocent. That's we are going to prove by the dialogues between Job and his friends. Now already I have written a chart here. You can enter onto your class note and it will be helpful to you. Now let's evaluate. By evaluating this table, let's understand whether Job is guilty or innocent. The question whether Job is guilty or innocent, let's finalize. Job talks much, but friends talk less. Summary of 3 friends. 3 friends talk on divine retribution, theory of divine retribution, as I said. Just prosper, wicked perish. If one is perishing, he might have done some wicked things. Likewise, someone is prospering, therefore which means he might have done something good. He is good, therefore he is prospering. Now this is the conventional way of thinking. With this thought, his 3 friends come from, as I told you in the beginning, from 3 parts, like from different countries they come. One come from Arabia, one come from Edom, one come from Syria. So then known wise countries of the time, and they present all their talk. Eliphaz says, he talks from experience. Bildad is a great traditionalist, you know. Good example for traditionalist is some of our elders, senior priests. They will do only what they have to do. They will not turn either left or right. They will not accept also others doing same. Traditionalists, they are very strict with their life. They also want others also to be such a strict, conduct themselves in such a strict manner. We have good examples of that. Okay, we have a priest in our MSFS. We have spiritual director. He is very strict with himself and he also wants others also same. Even in our communities we have some senior generations, right? Very sorry, not naming it, but just giving an example. Even in our communities you may have senior conference friars. They are very strict with their life, right? They are not like laissez-faire, easy going. So likewise, Bildad is a very traditional man. He is a traditionalist. Right is right for him, wrong is wrong. There is no in between. Yes or no, no. Yes means yes, no means no. Nowadays for us, yes means like this. We do not understand whether like this means whether it is right or wrong, we do not know. Okay? It can be applied for both. So that is our stand nowadays. Younger generations, especially concerning the religious life and priestly life, we shake our head such a way that it doesn't mean neither right nor wrong, or it means either right or wrong. It could be both, whatever it is. But Bildad is such a traditional man. He doesn't accept someone saying something wrong. Likewise, Zophar, he follows the style of Ayatollah. He talks with Job, follows the style of Ayatollah. Now, who is this Ayatollah? He is a classical Islamic cleric. So, which means he is a learned man. He is a learned man. He is a religious man. Therefore, his talks will be religious, not secular. They all repeat one argument that just will experience good things from God. Wicked will perish because of their wicked deeds. That's all. From their talks, they conclude that. They stand for divine retribution, conventional wisdom. Just will receive reward and evil will perish. They say, no innocent man suffering. No innocent man suffers. Actions receive their reward. They say, actions receive their reward. They conclude saying, if someone is suffering, they might have committed sin. If someone suffers, it is a clear indication that he might have sinned. That is their conclusion. Job suffers, therefore they conclude he might have sinned. We will read that. Job chapter 4, 7 to 9. Shall we read that? Shall we read? Job chapter 4, 7 to 9. Their conclusion. Yeah. We'll read. Think now, who that was innocent ever perished? Or where were the upright cut off? As I have seen, those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. By the breath of the God they perish, and by the blast of his anger they are consumed. The roar of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lion are broken. The strong lion perishes for lack of prey, and the whelps of the lioness are scattered. So, which means what the text is trying to say is, the just will experience good things. Now, Job responds for this kind of proposal. Job responds. He points to his innocent case. He disapproves his case and questions their mechanical rigidity. He questions them. Why should always just experience or evil experience perishing? No. He says he is just, and you are simply speaking mechanically. Because I am doing good things, I am not always experiencing God's blessings. No, this is not happening. You are talking about mechanical rigidity. He questions them. Job says, you fellows, you don't understand. Keep silence. 13, chapter 13, verse 4 and 6. We shall read. 13, 4 and 6. 4 and 5. 13, 4 and 5. After you whitewash with lies, all of you are worthless physicians. If you would only keep silent, then would be your wisdom. You appear as if wise people and you are talking so many things, but you don't understand from my experience. I haven't done anything. But you accuse me that I have done something wrong because I am suffering. But better you keep silence, and that will be your wisdom. Again, going to the book of Proverbs, right? Keep silence, you will become wise. Yeah. Now in third round, Zophar doesn't talk. It shows only rational communication is impossible between Job, because Job stands on his ground, so his friends. So both of them are taking. Three of his friends, one stand, Job taking their stand. They are not trying to understand or think the other way, possible ways. Neither Job. Job says, no, not all the innocent, not all the just experience God's blessings. Not all the wicked experience God's punishment. But the others say, no. All the just will experience God's blessings. All the wicked surely will experience His punishment. Both of them are not able to come to an understanding. So therefore, the topic is abandoned. In third round, they don't understand each other. Each one is speaking on their own way. Therefore, there is no understanding possible. So, Job continues to defend his innocency, and his friends would say he might have sinned. Now Job goes to God. Matter is not settled with the people. Therefore now Job turns to God. He wants to prove his innocency before God. Therefore he is not getting an answer. He turns to God. Now let us see what happens. Now Job goes to God. His concept of God is shaken. Now what he says? He doesn't understand God and God's way of doing. Job questions the way God governs the world. Job says, you afflict me. You are my oppressor. Job questions God. Chapter 13, verse 1 to 4. Chapter 13 and 4. Chapter 13. 13, 1 to 4, and also verse 15, and also chapter 18, and also chapter 24 to 25. Job, he accuses God. Job chapter 10, 1 to 11. Job chapter 10, 1 to 11. Shall we read? Job chapter 10, 1 to 11. Here, Job calls God as a oppressor. Job chapter 30, 21. He calls God as cruel. Job chapter 30, 25. He calls God as a persecutor. So these are the blames that Job carries concerning God, because he does not understand God. Friends tell him, but Job does not accept. Job says to his friends, show me how I err. He also carries the same thing towards God. I haven't done anything wrong. Why I am suffering? So if I am suffering, you are the guardian of the social order. You are the one who is protecting the world. If so, you are my oppressor. I am being suffering because of my innocency. Therefore, you are my oppressor. Or you are an arbiter. Job accuses God as an arbiter. Arbiter means one who doesn't care. You are a careless man. You might have said everything, but you are a careless man. Such a careless man that innocent poor people or just ones are perishing and struggling, and the other side wicked are flourishing and they are experiencing blessings, good things. Where are you? What are you doing? You are an arbiter. You are a careless man. You don't do anything. So these are his accusations towards God. So therefore, what shall be our evaluation? Those who are sitting in the class, what is our evaluation? concerning the question of Job. Is Job guilty or is innocent? Is he guilty or innocent? Innocent? Yeah. Let's see in the next talk. Dialogue between God and Job, it will be proved. So, matter is not settled between us. I am trying to say Job is guilty, you are saying he is innocent. So, matter is not settled here. We shall postpone in the next topic.